The transport ship broke through the cloud layer of Nexar's prime, and Maya Chen pressed her face against the viewport like a child seeing snow for the first time. Below her stretched the Celestial Academy, a massive structure of crystal spires and floating platforms that defied every law of physics she had learned back on Earth. The academy was built on a mountain that seemed to grow from the planet itself, its peak touching the edge of space where stars blinked in eternal darkness. Maya was 17 years old. She had brown eyes, dark hair that she kept tied back, and hands that trembled slightly as she gripped her worn backpack. Inside that backpack was everything she owned. A few clothes, a broken watch that had belonged to her father, a data tablet filled with study materials, and buried at the very bottom, wrapped in cloth, was a small device no bigger than her thumb that could destroy everything she was about to build. She was not supposed to be here. Humans were not supposed to be here. The Celestial Academy was the most prestigious institution in the known galaxy. It had existed for 12,000 years, producing diplomats, scientists, warriors, and leaders who shaped the fate of civilizations. Students came from the most powerful species in the Galactic Union: the Valorians with their silver skin and telepathic abilities, the Crothans who could manipulate gravity with their minds, the Synthex who were beings of pure energy contained in crystalline bodies, the Azurans whose photographic memories could store entire libraries. Humans had only been part of the galactic community for 60 years. They were considered primitive, short-lived, fragile, and unremarkable. Most alien species looked at humans the way humans might look at insects. Interesting perhaps, but certainly not equals. No human had ever attended the Celestial Academy. No human had ever been invited. Maya had not been invited either. She had simply appeared in their system one day, her test scores impossibly high, her background mysteriously classified, her acceptance letter signed by the Academy director herself. Nobody knew how it happened. Maya certainly was not going to tell them. The transport settled on a landing platform, and Maya stood up with the other students. She was surrounded by beings twice her height, beings made of light, beings with 4 arms or no arms at all. A Valorian girl glanced at her and wrinkled her nose as if she smelled something bad. A Crothan male laughed quietly to his companion and pointed at Maya's backpack, which was held together with tape in some places. Maya kept her head down and walked toward the exit. The moment she stepped off the transport, the air hit her like a wall. It was thinner here, different in composition, and for a moment she felt dizzy, but she forced herself to breathe slowly, to adapt, to survive. She had been surviving her whole life. This was just another challenge. A holographic guide appeared before her, a floating sphere of blue light that spoke in a pleasant voice. "Welcome, student Maya Chen of Earth. Your dormitory assignment is Tower 7, room 4421. Orientation begins in 3 standard hours. Please proceed to your quarters." Maya followed the floating guide across the platform and into the main academy grounds. The scale of everything was overwhelming. Buildings rose kilometers into the sky. Walkways floated in midair, held up by technology so advanced it might as well have been magic. Gardens contained plants from 1,000 worlds, some of which glowed, some of which moved, some of which seemed to watch her as she passed. She saw other students everywhere. Groups of Valorians practicing their telepathy exercises. Crothans floating objects through the air with casual ease. Synthex beings communicating in pulses of light that Maya could not understand. Everyone belonged here except her. Tower 7 was on the outer edge of the campus, reserved for lower-ranked students and species. Maya climbed 44 floors because the lift was crowded with students who made it clear they did not want to share space with a human. By the time she reached her room, her legs were burning, and she was covered in sweat. The room was small but clean. A single bed, a desk with a terminal, a window that looked out over an endless forest of purple trees. Maya dropped her backpack on the bed and sat down heavily. She was exhausted, but she could not rest yet. She had work to do. She pulled out the small device from her backpack and turned it over in her hands. It looked harmless enough, a simple cylinder of dark metal with a single blue light that pulsed softly. But this device contained the secret that had gotten her into the academy. The secret that could get her killed if anyone discovered it. Maya was not just a human. She was something else entirely. Something that should not exist. 20 years ago, before Maya was born, a research team on Earth had discovered something impossible. Deep in the mountains of Tibet, buried under kilometers of rock, they found an ancient structure, not ancient by human standards, but ancient by galactic standards. The structure was millions of years old, built by a species that had vanished long before the current civilizations rose to power. The architects, the researchers called them, though they had no idea who they really were. Inside the structure, the team found technology beyond anything humanity had ever seen. Most of it was broken or incomprehensible. But one device still worked, a single machine that glowed with inner light and responded to touch. Maya's mother had been part of that research team. She had been the one to touch the machine, and the machine had changed her in ways nobody understood. It had rewritten her DNA, given her abilities that should have been impossible. When Maya was born a year later, she inherited those changes. She was not quite human anymore. She was something new, something evolved, something the galaxy had never seen before. Maya could do things that no human could do. She could process information at speeds that rivaled the Azurans. She could sense energy patterns like the Valorians. She could adapt to environments that should have killed her. But most importantly, she could interface directly with technology. Any technology, including the ancient technology of the architects that still existed scattered throughout the galaxy. The device in her hand was an architect artifact. It had been bonded to her since birth, hidden from everyone, kept secret even from the Galactic Union scientists who had studied her as a child before her mother had faked their deaths and gone into hiding. If the Union discovered what Maya was, they would take her apart to study her. If the Academy discovered her secret, they would expel her at best, dissect her at worst. The architects were considered a myth by most species, but those who believed in them feared their return. An architect creation walking among them would cause panic, chaos, possibly war. Maya put the device away and stood up. She had 3 hours before orientation, 3 hours to compose herself, to practice her cover story, to become the unremarkable human girl that everyone expected her to be. She had spent her whole life pretending to be normal. She could do it for a few more years. The orientation ceremony was held in the Grand Atrium, a massive space at the heart of the academy that could hold 10,000 students with room to spare. Maya stood near the back, trying to be invisible, but she could feel eyes on her, the only human in a sea of aliens, the curiosity, the disgust, the amusement. The academy director walked onto the central platform, and the crowd fell silent. Director Voss was a synthex, a being of pure blue energy contained in a humanoid crystal frame. She had led the academy for over 300 years and was considered one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. "Welcome, students," Director Voss said, her voice echoing through the atrium without any apparent amplification. "You have been chosen because you represent the best of your species, the brightest minds, the strongest wills, the most promising futures. Here at the Celestial Academy, you will learn, you will grow, you will be tested. Many of you will fail. Those who succeed will shape the destiny of the galaxy." Maya listened carefully, but her attention was drawn to a group of students standing near the front. They wore special insignias that marked them as legacy students, children of galactic leaders and famous heroes. Among them was a tall Valorian male with silver hair and golden eyes that seemed to glow with inner light. He was laughing at something his companion said, and when he laughed, everyone around him laughed too. "That is Prince Kael Vosori," someone whispered near Maya, heir to the Valorian Dominion, most powerful telepath of his generation. Maya watched Prince Kael for a moment longer before looking away. She did not need to make enemies of powerful people. She just needed to survive, to learn, to become strong enough to protect herself and the secret she carried. After the orientation, students were directed to their assigned paths. The academy had 12 paths of study: diplomacy, warfare, science, engineering, medicine, psychology, law, art, philosophy, history, economics, and the most mysterious of all, the path of integration. Maya had been assigned to engineering, which suited her perfectly. She could hide her abilities behind technical skill, explain away her talents as mere human innovation. Her first class was in the morning. Fundamentals of Galactic Technology, taught by Professor Morath, a Crothan physicist who had won multiple galactic prizes for his work on spatial manipulation. Maya spent the evening studying, preparing herself, trying to learn as much as she could about the subjects she would face. When morning came, she walked into the classroom and found a seat near the back. The other students ignored her, which was fine. Better to be ignored than noticed. Professor Morath floated into the room, his gray skin gleaming under the lights, gravity rippling around him in visible waves. He surveyed the class with 4 dark eyes and began speaking without introduction. "Technology is power. This is the fundamental truth of the galaxy. Those who understand technology control it. Those who control it shape civilizations. You are here because you believe you understand technology. By the end of this course, you will realize how ignorant you truly are." He gestured, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed a simple energy conductor, a basic component found in almost every piece of galactic technology. This is an energy conductor, standard design, used throughout the Union for 10,000 years. Tell me how it works. Several students raised their hands. Professor Morath pointed at a Valorian girl near the front. The conductor channels energy through crystalline pathways that align with the natural flow of electromagnetic fields, she said confidently. Efficiency is determined by crystal purity and pathway geometry. Correct, Professor Morath said. Now tell me why it works. The room was silent. The Valorian girl frowned, clearly not understanding the question. Maya understood the question. She understood it because she could see the energy conductor differently than everyone else in the room. To her, the conductor was not just a piece of technology. It was a pattern, a song, a living thing made of energy and intent. She could see how the energy flowed through it, why it flowed, what made it possible, and she could see that the standard design was incredibly inefficient. Without thinking, she raised her hand. Professor Morath turned his 4 eyes toward her, and the entire class followed his gaze. Maya felt her face flush, felt the weight of alien stares pressing down on her. She had made a mistake. She should not have drawn attention to herself. The human student, Professor Morath said. Speak. Maya swallowed hard. The conductor works because the crystalline structure creates a resonance pattern that matches the frequency of the energy being channeled. The pathways do not just guide the energy, they harmonize with it, reducing resistance and allowing smoother flow. But the design assumes a single frequency. If you modified the pathway geometry to accommodate multiple frequencies simultaneously, you could increase efficiency by at least 40%. The silence that followed was deafening. Professor Morath stared at her for a long moment. Then he walked toward her, gravity bending around him, until he stood directly in front of her desk. What is your name, human? Maya Chen, she said quietly. Maya Chen. Professor Morath leaned closer, his 4 eyes examining her like she was a specimen under a microscope. You have just described a theoretical improvement that my best graduate students have been working on for 3 years. How does a human from a primitive backwater world know something that has eluded some of the greatest minds in the galaxy? Maya's heart was pounding so hard she thought it might burst. She had made a terrible mistake. She had revealed too much, shown too much, attracted exactly the kind of attention she needed to avoid. I read a lot, she said lamely. Professor Morath stared at her for another long moment. Then he straightened up and returned to the front of the class. Interesting, he said. Very interesting. Maya spent the rest of the class trying to be invisible, but she could feel eyes on her. Curious eyes. Suspicious eyes. She had done something stupid, and now she would have to deal with the consequences. After class, she hurried toward the exit, hoping to escape before anyone could approach her. But a hand caught her arm and spun her around. She found herself face to face with Prince Kael Vosori, the Valorian heir, whose golden eyes were fixed on her with an intensity that made her stomach drop. You are the human, he said. The one who answered Professor Morath's question. Maya pulled her arm free. Yes, how did you know that? Prince Kael asked. I scanned your mind during class. You were not reciting memorized knowledge. You were seeing something, understanding something. What are you? Maya felt cold fear wash through her. Valorians were telepaths. If Prince Kael had scanned her mind, he might have seen something he should not have seen. He might have glimpsed the truth of what she was. I do not know what you are talking about, she said. I am just a human. I study hard. That is all. Prince Kael smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Humans cannot fool Valorian telepaths. Your mind is strange, shielded in ways I have never encountered. You are hiding something, Maya Chen, and I intend to find out what it is. He released her and walked away, joining his group of admirers who had been watching the exchange with interest. Maya stood frozen in the hallway, her mind racing. She had been at the academy for less than a day, and already the most powerful student in the school had marked her as suspicious. Already her secret was in danger. She had been foolish to think she could simply blend in and survive. But Maya had not survived 17 years hiding from the Galactic Union by giving up easily. If Prince Kael wanted to discover her secret, he would have to work for it. She would be more careful, more guarded, more invisible. She would study, she would grow, she would learn to protect herself. And if the time came when she could no longer hide, she would be ready to fight. Maya walked back to her dormitory room as the twin suns of Nexaris Prime began to set, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. She had a long journey ahead of her, a journey that would test everything she was and everything she could become. She did not know it yet, but her presence at the academy had already set events in motion that could not be stopped. Ancient powers were stirring. Old secrets were beginning to surface, and Maya Chen, born an anomaly, carrying a secret that could end civilizations, was at the center of it all. The galaxy was about to change, and humanity's most unlikely daughter would be the one to change it. 3 months passed at the Celestial Academy, and Maya learned to walk carefully through a world that wanted to crush her. She woke each morning before the suns rose, practiced mental shielding techniques she had taught herself to keep the Valorians out of her mind, and studied until her eyes burned. She sat in the back of every classroom, answered questions only when directly asked, and never volunteered information again. She made herself small, unremarkable, forgettable. It was not enough. Prince Kale had not forgotten about her. She caught him watching her during meals, felt the subtle pressure of his telepathic probes during classes, noticed his followers tracking her movements across campus. He was hunting her, and the prey could only run for so long. But something else was happening too. Something Maya had not expected. She was getting better, not just at hiding, but at everything. Her ability to interface with technology was growing stronger each day. She could walk past a machine and sense its inner workings without touching it. She could identify flaws in designs that had been refined for thousands of years. In her private moments, she discovered she could reach out with her mind and feel the energy patterns of the entire academy, a vast web of power flowing through crystal spires and floating platforms. The architect device in her backpack pulsed more frequently now, as if responding to her growth. Sometimes she dreamed of impossible structures, cities of light built on foundations of pure energy, beings of such power that they had reshaped reality itself. She did not know if these were memories or prophecies, but they frightened her. One evening, Maya was studying in the academy library, a massive space filled with floating data crystals that contained the combined knowledge of 10,000 civilizations. She had chosen a corner table far from other students, surrounded by crystals that glowed softly in the dim light. A shadow fell across her work. "You are still here," a voice said. Maya looked up and found herself facing a creature she had never seen before. It was small, barely reaching her waist, with gray skin covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and move. Its eyes were large and completely black, reflecting nothing. It wore simple robes and carried no possessions that she could see. "I am Zex," the creature said. "I am a keeper." Maya had heard of keepers. They were the oldest known species in the galaxy, so ancient that nobody remembered where they came from. They served as librarians, historians, and guardians of knowledge. It was said they could read the truth in any being's soul. "What do you want?" Maya asked carefully. Zex climbed onto the chair across from her and folded its small hands on the table. "I have watched you for 3 months, Maya Chen. You are a mystery, a contradiction. Your surface presents one truth while your depths conceal another. I find this fascinating." Maya's heart began to beat faster. "I do not know what you mean." "You do know," Zex said calmly, "but you have learned to lie very well. This is a useful skill for survival, though it will not save you forever." Prince Kale grows impatient. He has petitioned the Academy Council for permission to conduct a full telepathic investigation of your mind. If they agree, your secrets will be exposed. Maya felt the blood drain from her face. They cannot do that. There are rules against mental invasion. There are exceptions for security concerns, Zex replied. And Prince Kael has convinced several council members that you may be a spy for an enemy faction. His influence is considerable. The vote is scheduled for next week. Maya sat very still, processing this information. If Prince Kael gained permission to fully probe her mind, everything would be over. He would discover the truth about the architect device, about her abilities, about what she really was. The Academy would hand her over to the Galactic Union, and she would disappear into some research facility, never to be seen again. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked. Zex tilted its head, black eyes gleaming. "Because I am curious about what you will do. Because I have lived for 17,000 years and rarely encounter true mysteries. Because your existence raises questions I have not considered before." "What questions?" "What happens when evolution creates something the galaxy is not prepared for? What happens when the old powers return in unexpected forms? What happens when the children of the architects walk among us again?" Maya went very cold. You know what I am. I suspect, Zek said. I cannot confirm, but if I am correct, then you are far more important than anyone at this academy realizes, and far more dangerous. I am not dangerous, Maya said. I just want to learn. I just want to survive. Zex made a sound that might have been laughter. Survival is what drives all evolution. But sometimes, survival requires more than hiding. Sometimes it requires becoming something greater than you were before. The keeper slid off the chair and began to walk away. Then it paused and looked back at Maya with those ancient, bottomless eyes. There is a test coming. Not the one Prince Kael is planning, but something larger. Something that has been waiting for you since before you were born. When the time comes, you will have to choose what you truly are. I hope you choose wisely. Then Zex was gone, disappearing into the stacks of glowing crystals, leaving Maya alone with her racing thoughts and mounting fears. She did not sleep that night. Instead, she sat in her dormitory room, holding the architect device in her hands, thinking about what the keeper had said. A test was coming. She would have to choose what she truly was. But what was she? A human girl trying to survive? An accident of evolution? A creation of ancient powers that had vanished millions of years ago? She did not know the answer, and the uncertainty terrified her. The next morning, Maya went to her advanced technology class with dark circles under her eyes and a heaviness in her chest. She sat in her usual corner and waited for the lesson to begin. Professor Morath floated into the classroom. But he was not alone. Walking beside him was a being that made even the Crothan professor seem small. It was tall and thin, wrapped in flowing robes of deep purple, its face hidden beneath a hood that revealed only 2 points of golden light where eyes should be. This is Observer Malix, Professor Morath announced. He represents the Galactic Union Science Council and will be evaluating your progress. Please demonstrate the skills you have developed this term. Maya's stomach tightened. She had heard of observers. They were the Union's inspectors, sent to assess potential resources and threats. Their evaluations could determine the fate of careers, species, even entire worlds. Observer Malix moved through the classroom slowly, watching as students performed demonstrations of their technical knowledge. Some built complex devices from raw materials. Others manipulated energy fields with their natural abilities. Each student tried to impress, to stand out, to prove their worth. Maya stayed in her corner, hoping to be overlooked. But eventually, Observer Malix stopped in front of her desk, those twin points of golden light fixed on her face. The human, Observer Malix said. His voice was like wind through dead leaves. I have heard interesting things about you, Maya Chen. Professor Morath says you have unusual insights into technology. Prince Kael believes you are hiding dangerous secrets. I would like to see what you can do. Maya forced herself to remain calm. I am not particularly skilled, Observer. I simply study hard. Demonstrate, Observer Malix commanded. A piece of technology appeared on her desk, apparently from nowhere. It was a small cube made of dark metal, covered in patterns that seemed to shift when she looked at them. Maya recognized those patterns. They were architect designs. Somehow, Observer Malix had obtained a piece of architect technology. This device has been studied for 300 years, Observer Malix said. No one has been able to activate it or determine its purpose. Show me what you see when you look at it. Maya stared at the cube, her mind racing. This was a trap. It had to be a trap. If she touched that device, if she used her abilities to interface with it, she would reveal everything. But if she refused, she would confirm every suspicion Prince Kael had planted. She could feel the entire class watching her. Could feel Prince Kael's smug satisfaction radiating from across the room. Could feel the weight of her secret pressing down on her like a physical force. Maya reached out and touched the cube. The moment her fingers made contact, the world changed. Energy flooded through her, ancient and powerful, filling every part of her being. The cube recognized her. It knew what she was, even if she did not fully understand it herself, and it began to wake up. The patterns on the cube started glowing. First faintly, then brighter, filling the room with golden light. The students gasped and stumbled backward. Professor Morath's gravity field flickered. Even Observer Malix seemed startled. Maya wanted to pull her hand away, wanted to stop what was happening, but she could not move. She was connected to the cube now, and through the cube, she was connected to something vast and incomprehensible. She saw memories that were not her own. Ancient beings building structures that spanned galaxies. A civilization so advanced they had transcended physical form. A choice to leave, to move beyond this reality, but to leave behind seeds of their legacy in case they were ever needed again. She was one of those seeds. A child of the architects, born into a young species, designed to awaken when the time was right. But awaken for what? The vision ended as suddenly as it began. The cube went dark, and Maya found herself on the floor, gasping for breath, surrounded by chaos. Students were shouting. Alarms were blaring. Professor Morath was trying to restore order while Observer Malik stood perfectly still, staring at Maya with those unreadable golden eyes. Security forces arrived within minutes. Maya was restrained, escorted from the classroom, and taken to a holding chamber deep beneath the academy. She was placed in a cell designed to contain the most dangerous beings in the galaxy, surrounded by energy fields that blocked all forms of power. She was alone. She was trapped, and her secret was no longer secret. Hours passed. Maya sat in the corner of her cell, knees pulled to her chest, trying to understand what had happened. The cube had shown her things, told her things, awakened something inside her that she had always known was there but had never understood. She was not just a human with unusual abilities. She was a creation of the architects, designed for a purpose that was finally beginning to become clear. But that purpose had been hidden for so long, locked away until the right conditions triggered its release. What were those conditions? What had changed? Why now? The door to her cell opened, and Observer Malix entered. He stood before her, silent for a long moment, those golden lights examining her with an intensity that made her skin crawl. You activated the device, Observer Malix said finally. In 300 years, no being has managed what you did in 3 seconds. You are not human. I was born human, Maya said quietly. My mother was human. My father was human. I grew up on Earth, learned to walk and talk and think like a human. Whatever else I might be, that does not change. What you are changes everything, Observer Malix replied. The architects were the most powerful civilization to ever exist. They could reshape reality. With a thought, they left behind technology that even now, millions of years later, we cannot begin to understand. If their creations are awakening, if their descendants walk among us, the entire balance of power in the galaxy will shift. I do not want to shift anything, Maya said. I just want to learn. I just want to live. What you want is irrelevant. You are a weapon, a key, a catalyst for change. The Galactic Union will want to study you, control you, use you. Some will want to destroy you before you can threaten their power. Others will worship you as a savior. None will simply let you live. Maya felt tears forming in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. I did not choose this. I did not ask to be this. Observer Malix was silent for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He lowered his hood, revealing a face that was startlingly human, gray skin, angular features, but eyes that held sadness and understanding. Neither did I, Observer Malix said quietly. I was created by the architects as well, long ago, to observe and record the progress of younger civilizations. I have watched species rise and fall for millions of years, always separate, always alone. When I learned of your existence, I hoped perhaps I had finally found another like myself. Maya stared at him in shock. You are an architect creation too? We are what they left behind. Seeds planted in different soil, meant to grow in different ways. You are far younger than me, but your potential is greater. The architects designed you to adapt, to evolve, to become something new. I was made to preserve. You were made to create. Create what? That is the question, Observer Malix said. The architects left no clear instructions. They simply scattered their seeds and trusted that when the time came, their children would know what to do. Perhaps you are meant to guide humanity to greatness. Perhaps you are meant to reunite the scattered legacy of our creators. Perhaps you are meant for something none of us can imagine. Or perhaps I am meant to cause destruction, Maya said bitterly. That seems to be what everyone expects. Destruction is one possibility. But I have watched you, Maya Chen. I have seen how you struggle to hide, to survive, to protect others from your secret. That is not the behavior of a destroyer. That is the behavior of a guardian. Observer Malix extended his hand. I can help you escape this cell. I can hide you from those who would harm you. But eventually, you will have to face what you are. You cannot hide forever. Maya looked at his outstretched hand for a long moment. Then she reached out and took it. The energy fields around her cell flickered and died. Alarms began to wail throughout the facility. Observer Malix pulled her to her feet and led her toward a hidden passage that she had not noticed before. "Where are we going?" she asked. "To the place where our creators left their final message," Observer Malix replied. "It is time you learned the truth about why you were born." They disappeared into the darkness, leaving behind chaos and confusion. As the first chapter of Maya's true destiny began to unfold, Observer Malix led Maya through tunnels that should not have existed. They twisted and turned beneath the academy, through passages carved from stone that predated the institution by millions of years. The walls were covered in those familiar patterns, architect designs that glowed faintly as Maya passed, recognizing her presence, welcoming her home. They walked for what felt like hours, deeper and deeper into the mountain, until finally the tunnel opened into a vast chamber that took Maya's breath away. It was a cathedral of light. Crystal structures rose from floor to ceiling, each one pulsing with inner energy, connected by threads of golden fire that wove complex patterns through the air. In the center of the chamber stood a single pillar of pure white light, so bright it should have been blinding. But somehow Maya could look directly at it without pain. "This is the heart," Observer Malix said. "The last functioning piece of architect technology in this sector of the galaxy. It has waited here for 20 million years, guarded and hidden, waiting for the one who would finally be able to use it." "Use it for what?" Maya asked. Observer Malix gestured toward the pillar of light. The architects did not simply leave. They evolved beyond physical existence, but before they departed, they knew that the civilizations they left behind would face challenges, wars, disasters, extinction events. They created failsafes, systems that could be activated in times of greatest need. This is one of those systems. Maya walked closer to the pillar, drawn by something she could not explain. The light seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat, responding to her presence. "What does it do?" "It connects," Observer Malix said, "to every piece of architect technology scattered throughout the galaxy, to the deep systems buried beneath countless worlds, to the emergency protocols that have been dormant for millions of years. If activated by someone with the proper genetic coding, it could wake them all." Maya stopped walking. She turned to face Observer Malix with growing horror. "You want me to activate it?" "I want nothing," Observer Malix replied. "I am simply showing you what exists. The choice of what to do is yours alone." Before Maya could respond, the chamber shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. The crystal structures flickered. "They have found us," Observer Malix said calmly. "Prince Kale and his followers have been tracking us since we left your cell. They will arrive within minutes." Maya's mind raced. If Prince Kale found this place, if he discovered the heart and understood what it could do, the consequences would be catastrophic. The Valorian Dominion would try to claim it, use it for their own purposes, potentially start a war that could destroy countless civilizations. "Can we seal the entrance?" she asked. Observer Malix shook his head. "The tunnels were designed to remain open. They cannot be closed by force." "Then I have to face him," Maya said. "I have to stop him." "You cannot defeat him," Observer Malix warned. "He is the most powerful telepath of his generation. His mental abilities far exceed anything you have demonstrated." Maya thought about the past 3 months, all the hiding, all the fear, all the running. She thought about her mother, who had died protecting this secret. She thought about Earth, that primitive backwater world that the galaxy dismissed as insignificant. She thought about what it meant to be human. Humans were not the strongest species. They were not the smartest or the most powerful. They did not have telepathy or gravity manipulation or crystal bodies, but they had something else, something that had allowed them to survive ice ages, build civilizations from nothing, reach for the stars despite knowing how small they were in the vastness of space. They had the ability to adapt, to evolve, to become more than they were. Maya turned to face the entrance to the chamber just as Prince Kale emerged from the tunnel, followed by a dozen Valorian guards and several other students who had joined his cause. His golden eyes blazed with triumph as he surveyed the chamber. "So this is where you have been hiding," he said. "A relic of the ancient powers. No wonder you were so protective of your secrets. Human, you are not just a spy. You are something far more dangerous." "I am not your enemy," Maya said. "I never wanted to be anyone's enemy. I just wanted to learn." Prince Kale laughed. "Learn? You came to our academy carrying the legacy of the architects. You activated a device that has been dormant for centuries. You possess abilities that could threaten the entire galactic order, and you expect me to believe you just wanted to learn?" He raised his hand, and Maya felt the crushing weight of his telepathic power pressing against her mind. It was like nothing she had ever experienced, a force that tried to crack open her skull and expose everything inside to his scrutiny. "Your mind is strong," Prince Kael said, clearly surprised. "But I am stronger. Open yourself to me. Show me what you truly are." Maya fell to her knees, struggling against the invasion. She could feel her mental shields cracking, feel him pushing deeper into her consciousness. In moments, he would see everything: the architect device, her mother's sacrifice, the truth about what she had been created to do. But as she struggled, something strange happened. The pillar of light behind her began to pulse faster. The crystal structures around the chamber resonated with a frequency that matched her heartbeat. The patterns on the walls blazed brighter. And deep inside her mind, in a place she had never fully explored, something ancient awakened. Maya was not just a human with unusual abilities. She was not just a creation of the architects. She was something new. Something that had never existed before. A bridge between what was and what could be. A seed that had finally found the right conditions to grow. She stopped fighting Prince Kael's telepathic assault. Instead, she embraced it. She let him into her mind, but on her terms. She showed him what she really was. Prince Kael screamed. The mental connection between them reversed. Instead of his power flowing into her, her power flowed into him. He saw what she saw. The memories of the architects. The vast scope of their civilization. The reason they had left. The purpose of the seeds they had scattered across the galaxy. The architects had not simply evolved beyond physical existence. They had seen something coming. A threat so terrible that even their godlike powers could not defeat it directly. They had prepared, leaving behind systems and children who could one day wake when the threat arrived. That threat was coming now. It had been traveling through the void between galaxies for millions of years, and it would arrive within a generation. When it came, it would consume everything in its path. Stars, planets, civilizations, the entire galaxy would be nothing but ash, unless someone stopped it. Prince Kael collapsed to his knees, his golden eyes wide with terror. "What was that? What did you show me?" "The truth," Maya said, rising to her feet. Something she had not been able to see herself until this moment. "The architects created me to help. Not to conquer, not to rule, not to threaten, to help prepare for what is coming." She turned to face the pillar of light, understanding now what she had to do. The heart would not give her power. It would not make her a god or a weapon. It would connect her to systems scattered across the galaxy, allowing her to begin the work of preparation that should have started thousands of years ago. "If I activate this," Maya said to observer Malix, "what happens? The dormant systems will wake. Ancient defenses will come online. Information will be shared with every species capable of receiving it. The galaxy will learn what is coming and will have a chance to prepare. And if I do not activate it, then the threat will arrive, and no one will be ready. Billions will die. Perhaps all will die." Maya nodded slowly. She thought about Earth, about the small blue world that had produced her. Humanity had only been part of the galactic community for 60 years. They were considered primitive, insignificant, barely worth noticing. But humans had faced extinction before. They had survived ice ages, plagues, wars, disasters. They had looked at the stars and dreamed of reaching them. They had taken that tiny, fragile world and built something beautiful despite knowing how easily it could all be destroyed. That was what it meant to be human. Not strength or power or superior abilities. The willingness to face impossible odds and try anyway. Maya stepped forward and placed her hands on the pillar of light. The chamber exploded with energy. The crystal structures blazed like suns. The patterns on the walls shifted and changed, forming new designs that spread outward from Maya's position. Observer Malix fell to his knees. Prince Kael and his followers were thrown backward by waves of golden fire, and across the galaxy, ancient systems began to wake. On 1,000 worlds, dormant machines stirred to life. Data archives that had been sealed for millions of years opened themselves to anyone who could access them. Defense networks that no living being had ever seen activated their first protocols. The architect legacy, scattered and hidden for so long, began to reconnect. Maya stood at the center of it all, connected to everything, seeing everything. She saw civilizations that had no idea what was coming. She saw the void between galaxies, where something terrible was growing closer with each passing second. She saw the future, branching into countless possibilities. most of them ending in darkness, but some of them did not. Some of them showed a galaxy united against the threat, species that had been enemies for millennia working together, technologies that had never been shared being combined in new ways, a future where survival was possible, if enough beings chose to fight for it. Maya pulled her hands away from the pillar and collapsed to the floor, exhausted, overwhelmed, but alive. Observer Malix was the first to reach her side. "You have done it," he said. "The systems are waking, the message is spreading, the galaxy will know." "Will they believe it?" Maya asked weakly. "Will they prepare?" "Some will, others will deny it. Many will fight each other over the new knowledge. But the seed has been planted. The chance exists." Prince Kale approached slowly, his face pale, his earlier arrogance completely gone. "I felt it," he said. "I saw what you saw. I understand now why you were hiding. Not to protect yourself, to protect everyone else from the panic that would come if the truth was revealed before the time was right." Maya struggled to sit up. "I was wrong to hide," she admitted. "I should have found allies. I should have trusted someone. I was so afraid of being discovered that I forgot why the architects created me in the first place. Not to hide. To help." Prince Kale was silent for a long moment. Then he did something Maya never expected. He knelt before her and bowed his head. "I have treated you as an enemy since the moment we met," he said. "I saw you as a threat to my people, my power, my position. I was wrong. You have given the galaxy a chance to survive. You have done what I could never have done. I owe you my life and the lives of everyone I care about." Maya reached out and touched his shoulder. "Stand up," she said. "We do not have time for this. There is work to do." Prince Kale rose and met her eyes. "What do you need?" "Everything," Maya said. "Every species, every resource, every piece of knowledge. The threat is still coming. Waking the systems was just the first step. Now we have to actually prepare." The days that followed were the most chaotic in galactic history. The message from the architect systems spread across the Union, and the response was exactly what Observer Malix had predicted. Some species embraced the new knowledge and immediately began preparing. Others denied it, calling it a hoax or a manipulation. Conflicts erupted between factions who wanted to control the newly activated technology. But through it all, Maya worked. She traveled from world to world, explaining what she had seen, helping beings understand the architect systems, building alliances where she could. She was no longer hiding. She was no longer afraid. She had accepted what she was and embraced the purpose she had been created to serve. And everywhere she went, something remarkable happened. Species that had dismissed humanity for 60 years began to see them differently. Here was a human girl, born on a primitive world, carrying the legacy of the most powerful civilization ever to exist. She had been underestimated, dismissed, hunted, and she had responded by giving the galaxy its only chance at survival. If humans could produce someone like Maya Chen, perhaps they were not as insignificant as everyone had believed. 6 months after the activation of the heart, Maya returned to the Celestial Academy. She walked through the main gates not as a hiding outcast but as a recognized leader in the preparation efforts. Students who had once mocked her now approached with respect. Professors who had questioned her abilities now sought her advice. Prince Kale was waiting for her on the central platform. "The Council has reached a decision," he said. "They want to appoint you as the coordinator for the Galactic Defense Initiative. Every major species has agreed to participate. Every available resource will be at your disposal." Maya looked out over the academy, at the crystal spires and floating platforms, at the students from 100 worlds who were learning to work together. "I am 17 years old," she said. "I have been in the galaxy for less than a year. Why would they trust me with something this important?" "Because you have already proven yourself," Prince Kale replied. "And because the architect systems respond to you in ways they respond to no one else. You are the bridge between what they left behind and what we must become." Maya thought about her mother, who had touched that ancient machine in a Tibetan cave and changed everything. She thought about her father, who had died never knowing what his daughter would become. She thought about Earth, that small blue world spinning in the darkness, full of people who had no idea their species had just been elevated to galactic importance. "I will do it," she said. "But I will not do it alone. Humanity has survived because we work together. The galaxy will survive the same way." Prince Kale smiled. "Then let us begin." They walked together into the academy, toward the meeting rooms where the first planning sessions would take place. Around them, the galaxy hummed with activity. Ancient systems working alongside modern technology. Species that had been enemies learning to be allies. The threat was still coming. The void between galaxies was still filled with something terrible. But for the first time in millions of years, the galaxy was not facing the darkness alone. Maya Chen, born an Anomaly, daughter of Earth, child of the architects, walked into her future with her head held high. She had entered the galaxy's top school with a secret that could have ended everything. Instead, she had used that secret to give everything a chance to survive. The galaxy would never be the same. And humanity, the primitive species that no one had taken seriously, would help lead the way forward, because that was what humans did. They faced the impossible. They adapted. They refused to give up, and sometimes, against all odds, they changed everything.